How's it going, everyone? Hope y'all doing well. Joshua here from You Enjoy Life, and I am in Peru right now. I'm in Lima. It's been a wild few months. I released that video about sort of coming out or transitioning, whatever you want to call it. Amazing feedback. First off, thank y'all for all your support and just like openness. It was really cool to see just how many people like totally get it, and it was kind of a reminder for me. And I've been making content for a long time, 7-8 years now, and sometimes creating videos can feel cumbersome because it starts to feel like I need to create certain things based on what's out there and what people want, and I'm just reminded like I just need to create what feels inspired to me, and seeing how many people are inspired by that or can relate, like that's a huge reminder. So I want to talk about a few things today, kind of catch you up in my life, what's going on, but also in the hopes, not just like, hey, this is me, I'm sharing. It's really to share so that maybe if you're going through something similar, you can feel not so alone. Because aloneness is a weird thing. It's something that's been coming up a lot recently for me. Hola, buenas. See, I'm not alone. Random people are saying hi on the street. That's just kind of a funny sign. Aloneness has been coming up a lot for me. I think the thing about aloneness is I used to feel so alone. Sometimes I still do, but I used to feel so alone. I'd be at a party or a gathering and I'd look around and it felt like everybody was in these conversations and they're laughing and they're engaging and patting each other in the back and smiling, and then I'd look around and I'd be like, how come I'm the only person not speaking? And I'd feel so alone. Like, how do people get into conversations? Like, why am I here and everyone else seems to be connecting? And then it's like through time you start to learn that aloneness, what's interesting about it is it's kind of the one thing that everybody shares. That might sound a little odd, but I've realized like we all feel alone. Everyone I've ever spoken to feels alone at some point because we all are sort of intrinsically alone. We have our self. There's this self. There's a self that we identify with that is us, that makes us feel separate and alone from everyone else. So it's easy from this inside perspective to look on the outside and assume that other people do not feel alone, that they all just feel connected all the time and we're the only people alone. But what's cool about aloneness is realizing and recognizing that because everyone has that same sense of aloneness, that we're all actually not alone. The fact that we all share this thing together means that we all are connected. So just a cool little tidbit. It's also one of the reasons I'm starting my mentorship program, and if you're interested in applying and learning more, just click the link below. There's a little application to fill out. It's going to actually start in early January, and it's really just a chance to bring people together from around the world and just kind of connect. I'm calling it Conversations with Your Best Friend. It's based on a book I'm writing. Also, this series is going to kind of start as Conversations with Your Best Friend because I realized like I'm not someone who's trying to be like some sort of coach, or like I know all the answers and this is how it's done. But I realized like sometimes just having a person in your life that you can speak to, that you can be open with, be honest with, like a true best friend, can make the absolute biggest difference when it comes to feeling less alone, feeling more connected, and feeling more empowered in your life. So one of the things I want to talk to you about today as well is what's been going on in my life, which is this divorce thing. And a lot of people in the last video said, well, okay, like you came out, as being sort of more like fluid in your gender, and can't you and your wife work it out? And yes, technically we could have worked it out, but for the last years we've been working last 7 years working a lot of things out. And as much as I love Jackie and like think she's honestly the most amazing woman in the freaking planet, it was more than just that. That was obviously a catalyst for us ending our marriage, but there were so many more things, and I realized that I just kind of need to go off on my own and figure some things out, and sort of have that love and that support, but a little bit more from a distance. I just think our lives were starting to go in separate directions, and so we decided to get divorced, and it happened quickly. The papers are already signed, everything's figured out, which is kind of wild, but also like when you know something, we didn't want it to drag on too long. We wanted to be able to have that sort of energetic break so that we can move on with our lives. And I realized with divorce, no matter how you swing it, it sucks. And I'm someone who's positive and optimistic, but some things in life just are not fun, and they have to not be fun. You have to be able to sit through them and go through them. And that's been the process I've been going through. Like, I want a divorce, like, oh, we love each other, why can't we make this easy and simple? But there's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of pain, and there's a lot of grief that comes up around ending a 7-year marriage that was filled with so much love and magic and so many things in so many ways. So I had to sit in that. And actually what's been interesting is I was surrounded by friends, so I felt like for a lot of the time I had a lot of almost distraction. And in the past week or so, I've realized that I have to just kind of like sit in that aloneness and sit in that sadness, because there's a piece of me that's very needy. Now being sort of separated from Jackie and not having that same like partner connection, I saw myself very quickly being needy and just like wanting and wanting and wanting, more and more connection. And I was getting connection, and that was great. But then it sort of hit me one day, and I ended up meditating in bed for, like 5 or 6 hours. And it was really intense, but it was also really amazing and so necessary and so needed. And I just sat there, and I had took little breaks. I go to the bathroom or get up, whatever, but I pretty much sat there for 5 or 6 hours just feeling my feelings. And the reason I want to bring this up today is because I'm not someone who has it all figured out by any means. I don't share these videos as like the sort of guru on the hill who's yes and namaste, whatever. And I think there's a lot of confusion in the world where people think that, if someone appears on the outside to have things figured out, that I should go follow them. They know what's up, because we all want direction in life. We want to know, what's the meaning of life, what's the point of being here, right? And it's easy to look at someone who seems on the outside to have it figured out and to kind of just blindly jump into their thing. But I'm not here to blindly share, things and tell you to just believe on faith. This is all stuff that anything I've learned in life has come from direct experience with it, and just like a knowing that I've experienced through like doing it over and over and over again, and through conversations with other people. But like for me, if there's something that I believe or something that I think is possible, I'm gonna dive into it and try it out. And if it proves itself worthy, then cool, I will like freaking rock into it. But if it doesn't, then I'll go on to the next thing. So I've just really been spending a lot of time sitting with myself. And when I got here yesterday in Peru, I'm coming here to teach, actually, and it's been sort of this amazing miracle of getting to share my gifts during an ayahuasca retreat. So from the 18th to the 29th, there's almost like a 2-week-long retreat in Iquitos, where they're going to be doing ayahuasca ceremonies, and I'm coming as a facilitator to actually share my voice and vocal workshops, which music is such a huge part of my life. So to get to do that, and I didn't even try to do it. Someone found me and they're like, hey, we love what you're doing. So that's been just like freaking this godsend. But I decided to come early because I am now home free, and it's been weird, but I feel good about it. I felt like really necessary, like that was something that I needed to let go and give her. And I'm here now to just kind of go off and just focus on me and channeling what I'm channeling. Because what I've seen recently is that, and I've done some different readings, human design and things, and it's like I'm just here to share my gifts with the world. They're not my gifts. I used to be really modest about the things that I did, and it actually deteriorates the gifts that I have to share, because they're not my gifts. The moment they come through me and I share them with someone else, they belong to someone else. They're not mine anymore. And I'm not looking to receive any sort of praise or accolades or awards or anything for this stuff. It's just what's coming through me, and I'm just kind of following that, like almost like divine guidance, if you will. So to get to actually share these gifts is a freaking honor for me, and very exciting, because it's something that I absolutely love to do, to help people tap into the music inside of them, to help people find their own voice and their power inside. Because I really truly believe this, and this is something that came up in my last ayahuasca ceremony. There's so much, a lot of the problems in the world right now, I believe, are coming from the external blame that people put upon others. It's easy to point fingers. It's easy to say, okay, well, it's the system, or it's the government, or it's my parents, or whoever it is. It's very easy to point fingers. But when we start pointing the finger back at ourselves, that's when real change starts to happen. Because we all have stuff that we got to deal with. We all came into this world and we're burdened with certain fears and stories and beliefs that don't necessarily serve us. So by looking at our own thing first, then we can actually start to make changes. So I do suggest that you start looking at yourself. If you're feeling really stuck right now, and this is something that happens a lot, people get extremely stuck and they feel like, oh man, I'm just in this weird place right now, and I don't know what to do, and it's because of my job or my boss or whatever it is. It's like, start looking back at yourself. What are the things that you can do? What are the changes that you can make in your life? And for me, like in going through this whole divorce thing, I've realized the big change is to actually be able to sit with myself and with my feelings and not rely on other people for my own happiness. Because that's what I was starting to do. I was starting to feel needy, starting to feel like, oh, I just need someone to send this text message, or I just need this friend to reach out to me, or I need to go party and have fun and dance and all this stuff. And those things are fun, but they can also be a distraction from what's really happening. What's interesting about this sort of like awakening process, if you will, I'm sure you've heard of like the word enlightenment gets thrown around so much right now. It's like on boxes of noodles, like enlightenment noodles. But the thing about awakening and enlightenment that I've seen is it's not this grand thing where you spend like 20 years studying under some guru, and then one day like you finally become awakened and you're just like happy and smiling all the time, and like you took a bunch of ecstasy. That to me that's not awakening. Awakening is it's really simple, actually. It's just awareness. So if you're somewhere out there that's kind of struggling and you feel like maybe you're like Neo and you're living in the Matrix, but you've kind of like awakened to the truth of that, like, oh wow, that's like the false world, or like the Truman Show, it's like that sort of awakening from this like false reality that you're living in. That's really all it is. It doesn't necessarily make life any easier. It doesn't mean that now you have some sort of like leg up on everything automatically, but it actually takes a ton of adjustment to understand that once you break the character of your life, once you realize that you're this conditioned character with this ego, and once you can actually step aside and see that and not be so attached to it, well then, you're in this new state of like awakening. I'm not talking about like woke culture. Woke culture seems to me more like political correctness. This has nothing to do with that. I'm not interested in that at all. I'm interested in, looking at my own self and the impact that I've had in the world and what are the things that I can do to change that. Because, one thing that our system is set up to feed fear. Our system is set up to feed this desire and this need for more and more and more, and to keep us feeling separate. But I don't blame the system, because to me it's like it's all illusion, it's all fear, it's all this thing that has been created to almost test us. Think about all the hard things that have ever happened in your life. So imagine that you don't have to imagine, but think of a moment where something really challenging has happened to you. And what I've found is that when I look back on those moments, like I have nothing but like respect and appreciation for those. It sucks. When I'm in those moments, it's like the worst feeling ever. But when I actually can look back and see how I've learned and grown, it's like this great experience. So I see fear as just growth. Fear is an opportunity to either go into something, dark and make it worse, or actually learn from that and like step up. It's almost like Groundhog's Day, the movie. Every day, like things repeat themselves. Like you'll be challenged when you're living just in sort of a awareness life. You'll continually be challenged with the same things over and over again until you really face them. Whether that's like standing up for yourself, or being honest about something, or sharing something, whatever the thing is. Like you're going to be continually challenged until you can like rise above it. And that's why the system of fear is designed. It's not designed, I don't think, to keep us small. It's designed to show us how big that we can be. Because all the challenges in our life are the things that are going to help us ultimately grow. And that is what all of this stuff is about. This is what conversations with your best friends, you enjoy life. It's about tapping into your joy, but it's also about getting real. And to get real, sometimes you need to have a space where you feel comfortable. So the mentorship program that I'm creating is really about that. And whether you sign up for the mentorship program or not, like if you feel like you want to have more direct connection with me and be able to talk about the things you're going through and get support from someone who's learned a ton and has gone through this, yeah, then check it out, click the link below. But otherwise, I'm going to continue to make content that is in this space. I'm going to be talking about these different things that I'm going through, because again, I'm going through a divorce right now, and it's been wild. Even having arrived in Lima, I'm here for a few days, and I had no plan until basically the 19th, and I just decided to book a trip to Iquitos to get to the jungle early, because I'm realizing that I'm just in a city right now, and Lima is beautiful, and I'm right by the beach, and it's freaking awesome, but I'm still in a city, and I know myself right now, and I need to be just surrounded by nature in the jungle, and I need time to not be distracted, because being in cities to me right now represents spending money, exploring, wanting to meet people, wanting to go out. And part of the ayahuasca diet, like leading up to ayahuasca, is it's very strict. There's essentially, there's no drugs, no alcohol, no sex, no masturbation, no super cold foods, like no ice cream or anything iced, no super spicy foods. And then, in a few days from now, it's gonna kick in even more. This is gonna be basically for 6 weeks. I can't do any of this. A few days from now, I'm also gonna not be able to have any salt or pepper or fermented foods, and a couple other things. So it's like, taking away all the vices and all the distractions is really hard, because even myself, I still have vices and things that when I get depressed or overwhelmed or sad that I go into. So for me, it's like having to sit with that, and the city does not feel like the place that I want to do that. So I want to go in the jungle and kind of disconnect and be with myself for a bit and really allow these feelings to come up and a process to grief. Like I said, ending a marriage, even though I made the choice, it's still a process of grief. It's still me having to sit with those feelings, because it's a loss, it's a death, it's an energetic death of a life that I thought I was leading. It's a person that I thought I was going to spend my life with and have kids with, and to do all the things that I wanted to do with this partner who was so amazing. And now that is over, granted I made the decision, it's still really sad, and I can't just pretend or philosophize my feelings away. That's been a huge piece of this whole thing, is not philosophizing things away. I think maybe the male side of me was raised to you're a man, you don't talk about your feelings, you do this and that. And I think a big piece of that is realizing that, like, as a I use male term lightly, there's this huge piece of me that, like, when I talk about feelings, it's like, how are you feeling? It's like, well, I'm feeling all right because, Jackie came home today and we had this conversation, and it's like, that's not a feeling, that's a story. And I was so good at philosophizing things, or I feel this way because of this. It's like, but actually getting in tune with how I'm feeling, and I'm talking about the sensation of it, has been a life changer. That's actually a huge part that helped me to open up to my own sexuality, is like just sitting with, okay, my chest is feeling really tight right now. I'm just feeling some tightness in my chest. And these are a lot of the tools and techniques that I've learned to help me grow and tap into these bigger things. And I sincerely hope that maybe through these videos that it might open something up with you, might create something new in your own world that will allow you to either see something differently, or just realize that you're not alone, realize that you can do anything in your life that you want to do and go through. It's like fight the good fight, because spirituality isn't all like flowers, roses, and crystals and meditation. Like, it can be kind of warfare. One of the best books I ever read, Spiritual Warfare, by Jed McKenna, his third book, is like, it's that concept. It's like spirituality is warfare. Like, you're fighting a war, you're waging a war against all the bullcrap and the fear and the lies that you were taught as a kid, so you can strip them away. Because I was living in fear for so long. And when I unleashed that veil, yes, there's always going to be a new layer, but when I unleashed that veil, things started to become clear. Because I was like, wow, I was oppressed. It's like sort of emotional imprisonment, and it's no one's fault. It's not even my fault, but I can take responsibility. I might not be responsible for the things that happen to me, but I can take responsibility and ownership and empower myself to do something even more amazing. It's been really cool talking to y'all. We'll speak soon.